We will call this July 30th Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Pfeiffer, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Morning.
First item on the agenda, we have Mr. Chris White, State's Attorney, 2020 budget.
Well, mine will be very brief, I believe. I see that we don't have two commissioners here, so it might even be
Shorter than that.
shorter, yeah. Last question. The reason it'll be brief is, I submitted my proposed budget, and then, I don't know, a week or two after that, we had some folks leave the office and we changed some things around. So it's basically what my final amount requested for 2020 is. You can take off about 34 grand because of the position we have absorbed. So it really gets it down to right around 922. So it's good news. It went down from last year and it's going to go down even more than what I proposed. So
To reduce it by 32, approximately?
approximately 34, 35.
34, okay, 30.
So it'll get it down to about
7.
it'll get it down to about 922
Okay.
ish. The only other thing you're going to actually see probably once I don't know if we're going to propose another one, Kathy, if there's time to add Chris Heeman into it, but Chris Heeman, I think Kathy's plan will be, if he's at our office this year, instead of just moving it from his budget into ours during the year, we're going to budget ahead of time. So we're just going to guesstimate the hours he'll have. And
We'll do a salary split like we do for commission assistant.
So we'll put it into my budget, take it out of his. So my budget will go up a little bit, but Chris's will go down, so.
Okay. We'll offset each other.
It'll offset, yeah. That's really it. There's not a whole heck of a lot since we're in between the changes.
So you're saying take 34
to 35 off. Yeah.
off of the request?
And then
Out
the
of salaries and wages.
out of salaries and wages, yeah, because that's the Carly's position we absorbed. And then the other thing to remember too is we're absorbing Carly's position yet this year. So yes, it'll be about 34,000 next year, but it'll be about 11 or 12 for the rest of this year too that we'll save. So I know every penny counts, so you'll save another 11 to 12,000 just this year on my budget. And then hopefully even more than that, because I told you we didn't have a summer intern. That's about 6 grand, so. I think I'm doing my part.
You are.
We hope everybody works that hard.
Does anybody have any questions about it? I'd be happy to answer.
I see under your psych evals, you've gone down over what was budgeted for 2019. 2019 was up considerably over 17 and 18. So you've adjusted that down based on what we've spent year to date, I'm assuming?
Partially. The other part is I'm pretty confident we'll go under that because we've got a line item in Jody's budget, her federal grant, that we can use for psych evals.
Okay.
And a lot of those psych evals overlap with her domestic cases or sexual assault cases. So
Okay.
we've been trying to use as much of that out of her budget as possible.
Good.
You learn how to work those federal grants in your
Sure.
to your advantage.
Well,
A
that's
penny
what they're
does.
for. That's what they're for. Might as well utilize them. Good.
So Kathy, do you want me to resubmit?
No, we'll just make your payroll adjustments when we approve the budget. Because we'll incorporate Christian into.
And then Chris's stuff?
And we'll adjust his budget as
Okay.
well. all at once,
Good
yeah.
deal. And that's really all that will change. Otherwise, Carly's stuck in juvenile court, so I'll stick around a little while.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Next item on our agenda, we have Deanna Harvey.
Hi, Deanna.
Hi, good morning.
South Dakota Department of Health. What are we doing for it? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're in a small group today.
Yeah, we're missing a couple.
Yeah. Oh, let's pass them off. Okay, so we're reporting for April through June. July 1st is the beginning of our fiscal year, so we did renew contracts with Dr. Mogan, who is our medical director, Dr. Beaver, and Sue Leone for family planning services. So they come in monthly and provide exams to patients that qualify for that program. WIC guidelines have changed, the income guidelines have changed, so I listed those there below. And every year they tend to be a little bit more generous than they were the year prior. WIC numbers are holding steady, about 733. Currently, we have found that a lot of our patients struggle with shopping at the grocery store with their vouchers, so we have been going over to Kessler's and Ken's a couple times a month, and patients have come in and we've helped them navigate the shelves on how to use their vouchers and then work with the cashiers. They have quite a bit of turnover there, so that's kind of been nice. We've built up some relationships with the grocery stores, and we're there to help the patients, particularly if they have a language barrier, how to navigate and use those foods. POD, we have confirmed our exercise for October 23rd. We were able to secure 250 doses. The target population, once again, this year is college-age students, so we will send a traveling team to Northern on the 23rd from 11 to 2, and we'll provide flu vaccines on campus for NSU students. Also at that same time, the key 21 members of our POD committee will meet and do a tabletop exercise with our consultant, Joanne Paulson. West Nile, there's just one case in Turner County as of July 26th, but we do have positive mosquito pools in 4 counties, including Brown County. School service contracts were initiated, and Warner and Hutterville will be contracting with us to provide school services. So we go in a couple times a year and do full assessments, vision, hearing, scoliosis, and then we also provide puberty teaching in Warner. We went over to Central in April during their school physicals and had an immunization booth and offered Tdap and meningococcal, which are the 2 new vaccines that are required for 6th grade entry. In addition to that, we did also offer HPV, and we vaccinated quite a handful of students that needed all 3 of those immunizations. Again, Bright Start is new in our office. That is a home visiting program where we have a nurse that will meet with first-time pregnant moms, and she will provide home visits to them up until the child is the age of 2. Originally, she had only been providing services in Brown County, but she has expanded out and is now in Spink County as well. And currently, she's providing case management services to 19 families. Questions at all?
I would have expected the West Nile numbers to be higher with as wet a year as we've had.
And the mosquitoes are horrible.
Yeah.
You about get eaten alive out there right now. And they spray a couple times a week, but it's just not enough.
Maybe we're all immune.
I know.
Maybe.
I know I've got quite a few bites, but yeah. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'll see you in 3 months then.
Okay, appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Anna.
Uh-huh.
We got a few minutes. Kathy, you want to take care of a couple of your things?
Yeah, minutes from general meeting July 23rd.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Thacker, to approve the general meeting minutes from July 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claim.
Move. Second.
Moved by Thacker, second by Sutton, to approve claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Thacker, to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fair contract.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Thacker, second by Sutton, to approve the fair contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Leases.
Move. Do you want to get your name in here, Doug?
Second. Between you two, it's hard to figure out which was alternating back and forth sometimes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Legal assignments.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Thacker, to authorize the legal assignments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
contract for operation of grandstand concession for the Boys and Girls Club.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Fikert, second by Sutton. There wasn't any changes on that, they were just like getting it to us?
That's the way I understood.
Okay.
I mean, they
Minor.
reworded a few things, I went through it all.
Yeah.
I was good with it, I talked with Derek about all of it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Planning and zoning fee resolutions. A resolution adopting the fees that Scott presented last week.
Move.
Second. Moved by Sutton, second by Fikert to approve the planning and zoning fee resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have a township bond.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Fikert, second by Sutton to approve the township bond for, I believe, the treasurer of Garland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I do have one odd item. We'll put it on the agenda for next week if you guys want to proceed with it. But a gentleman came in and there's a 8-foot sliver of land that the county owns adjacent to his property here in town. We took tax deed of it back in 1936 and it's still just hanging around, and he's got some kind of shed halfway on it, and it's just been overlooked all these years. Is that something we're interested in putting out for bid to sell?
I don't know why not. How big is it?
Oh, it's an
8 foot wide,
Yeah.
and his
Feet
garage
by 40.
sits on part of it.
40-some feet.
48,
Yeah.
let's see, 48 and a half feet.
Would
I
he
have
be
the
interested in
picture
just
here
making
if
us
you
an
want
offer
it.
to deed it
We
to him?
have to notice it.
Is it on a railroad grade or something, or?
No,
I looked at it and I can't figure out how we would.
I don't know why they sold the 8 feet.
We have to jump through certain hoops. It wouldn't,
Very good.
can't be as simple as just deeding it over to him because.
We'd have to notice it for sale
Exactly.
and open it to public bid. But
Fortunately, we gotta go through all that expense just to be able to,
the problem is he's trying to put a deck on his house, and this
Yep.
came to light, and
Yep.
you know how that goes, so.
Do we have to get it appraised too?
No. We just treat it like any other vacant tax deed lot that we would have.
well, as long as it's on the agenda for next week, we'll discuss it then. I think we do whatever's necessary to make it as cheap as possible
Right.
to be able to transfer ownership to him because.
We acquired it for $2.68.
Yep.
If we do that and go through the formalities, would he be willing to just pay all the costs to get it done?
Possibly, I just asked, not to say we are gonna sell, but if we were to sell, would you be interested in buying it? And absolutely he is. So yeah, we could try to figure out something.
How do you sell 8 feet by?
Exactly.
Is it totally landlocked in there? No.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
part of his lot.
I wonder if
when we
there's
look
any
at it.
laws.
And it's the only lot that had the 8 feet showing. It's very odd.
Bizarre.
I wonder if there's any laws that pertain to something that the government entity owns that's landlocked.
Well, we took it by,
No problem.
Right.
we took it by tax deed, so I think we would need to follow the tax deed process.
Yeah.
I think Kathy's right.
And I had Roberta do all the research on the deeds, and his deed for his house accepts those west 8 feet, so it's clear that we own it, and it's clear that we took it by tax deed.
However we go about it, just make it as cheap for
Yeah.
everybody as possible, because he's the only one that would have any use for it, since his garage already sits on part of it. I mean, it's,
Yeah, it's odd
we
situation.
have no use for an 8-foot strip of land. That's got a garage on part of it.
Yeah, okay, so I'll put that on the agenda
Yeah.
to approve the advertising next week.
Sounds good.
Bizarre deal.
We're a minute away from our next item, but I believe it's Dirk Rogers. We've got some highway right-of-ways.
Morning, Dirk. How are you guys?
Good morning.
Good. Got a light crew today. I should have come up with things more impressive to try to pass with only 3 people, but
How do you know it would have been any easier?
yeah, I don't know that. Especially with you three, I don't know.
Look at the crowd.
Yeah, no kidding.
Might have been harder.
I got 3 right-of-ways. They're all for Northern Electric, but they're kind of different stuff. One is out here on 14W. Of course, I didn't bring glasses in with me, but it's on 14W. It's west of 10, and it's just a boring under the road for primary service. I'm assuming it's going into sewer duct area there, but nothing too impressive. They're just sitting and boring under the road, so.
You're okay with it?
I'm okay with it.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Moved by Sutton, second by Biker to approve the boring on County Road 14. Who's doing the work?
That one is, Schmitz is doing the work for Northern Electric.
Okay, for Northern Electric. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then there's 3 more. These are all for Northern Electric. They're all being done by K&H, which is that they're an underground company that's been running around here for about 15 years now. And we'll just go through their, see, there's 2 different locations. This is North Shore Drive, you know, so they're just coming off of Road 6 out here, and this is all primary service, so they're updating the primary service through here and just boring it all in. I don't know how you want to move these. They're 3 separate applications, but they're, you know, 2 of them, they're all out of Richmond. They're in
We
different
can group
locations.
them.
What's that?
We can group that.
Okay, so that one's on North Shore, coming right off of Spillway and off of 6
Move it.
there. And then,
I thought if we were gonna group it, we'll move it.
I'll wait till I hear them all, then I'll second.
yeah, and this is in the same location, except this one includes the run down to here. I don't know why he always does it different, but it's, you can see they're exactly the same. This one just adds in that piece right there.
Okay.
And then the third one's on South Shore. Those are both on North Shore and Spillway. The third one's on South Shore, same story. They're just it's primary service, and they're just updating it. This is the cul-de-sac down on the west end of South Shore, and they're just feeding from down here and going over there. So I don't have any problems with all of it. I'm always in favor of boring to get all the overhead power underground, and so I think they're good ideas.
I'll second them.
We have a motion by Biker, second by Sutton to authorize Northern Electric, South Shore Drive, North Shore Drive, and Spillway to do some underground boring. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I got, unless you guys got questions.
Hall crossing gets open?
Yep, it's open. We're gonna have to sweeten it up a little bit. I want to put some more riprap in there, and we'll probably gravel it again, but for the most part, if you gotta get through there, you
How
can
long
get
has
through
it been
there.
open?
Not too long, and we haven't taken the signs down yet.
Friday and Saturday?
Yeah, it's open, it should have been open Friday.
I have to
What
charge
is
the
it,
traffic,
Tuesday? Yeah,
charge the
okay.
guy more mileage because I couldn't cross.
Was it as bad as you thought it was going to be, or was it?
Well, I'll just give you a quick, the conclusion I came to is that was done in 2011, 2012. Okay, it cost $210,000 or whatever it cost, but it's more than, it lasted 7 years. That's not good money, in my opinion.
So, are those block, are they chain or cable together?
Yep.
They are.
Yep. And what ended up happening, you ever got an old grandma knit Afghan?
Yeah.
You're sitting in the couch and you got the Afghan on, and then the phone rings, or you gotta go get something, and you get up, and the thing's laying on you, and you drag it. Well, that's basically what happened. Is the water went over where the pipe are, where it always overtops, but it started working on that stuff that's all cabled together, and I couldn't figure out what the deal was, because the whole cable thing was disturbed, okay, but not all the spots where the material that was under the cable stuff was disturbed. I mean, there's on the outside of that stuff, the cable stuff washed away, but the material was just sitting there, and I'm going, well, how the hell did that happen? It's because the water didn't move it out here. The water moved it in the middle and pulled it, and then the whole thing kind of rolled up on the outside edges. It wasn't salvageable. We tried to salvage it a little bit to see if we could lay it back down. We ended up just tearing it all apart. I have some pictures I can send you or show you. Just broke it all into riprap, pushed it down in the bottom, and just hogged in a bunch of new material and riprap on it. You know, in the past, in a normal year when that would wash out, we'd go up there and probably spend $4,000 or $5,000. I'm just saying on a normal year, not on what's happened last year. You know, we go through there and it's a little more than your average, you know, thing, and it washes out most of the time. But it's 10 truckloads of gravel, you blade it, and you get on with your life. So when I look at, yeah, it was really nice, and did a good project, and yeah, FEMA or whoever paid for most of it. It just doesn't seem good money to me to rebuild that again when we know that it's, okay, that didn't work. It lasted 7 years, it cost about $30,000 a year. I'm pretty sure that unless we get completely wiped out again, we can maintain that thing for less than that. So, and the other part of that is with the bridge getting replaced, the big bridge, which we stopped and looked at that, that's moving along a little slow. They're down in the coffer down below trying to get the footings in. But once that bridge is open, that's going to pretty much relieve a lot of the traffic. You're going to end up with just a local, eventually, you'll end up with just fishermen and the local farmers that are try to get out of there, an occasional hay mover that's too wide to go over the bridge or something like that, you know. But
those culverts never moved though, it was just the material that was around, but that's been happening for how many years? 30 years?
Ever since, as long as I know. I mean, since I've been here, that's just been a maintenance deal, and admittedly, it's not going to be quite as urgent as it has been in the past, because we just spent $2 million to build a new bridge out there, so.
So are you able to reclaim any of the material?
All of it.
Washed out in, you reach out with a track hole and pull that material back in?
So, I would say at some point, if you keep doing this for 10 more years and it overtops every year and we keep dumping 100 tons of material downstream, I mean, if you go up there now and look downstream, you can see 30 years worth of material that's washed away. But as far as the big stuff, we just go drive through there, go haul some hay through there and just go up and, but we just kind of salvaged everything we could, use that as a base. We hogged in a bunch of pit run, we took a bunch of material off the Otter Tail site, put that over there. I'm not going to say it's exactly the same thing. I think we riprap. I'm going to put a little more riprap on the upstream side than we have in the past. And the other thing is those culverts, they didn't move. The one that was exposed was a little rough looking. I mean, we kind of looked at it and crawled in it as best we could. I think it'll be okay, but you know, I would expect in the next 5 or 10 years we'll probably have to do something to replace a couple of those pipe just because they're aging out. But
one other question, has anything been done on the emergency spillway up at the Elm?
not that I know of.
I wonder who's going to follow up on that?
The school and public lands was going to follow up, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's what they had said in the meeting anyway, but.
Do you want,
Probably.
I mean, I can make a couple calls. And
Well,
see if
maybe
I
Gary
find
can
out
call
status
I
of
can-
something.
too, or
I can let them know.
find out who's
Yeah.
going to patch that up or how they're going to do it, because we need to stay on top of that too.
Didn't
for
the
those
city
people.
fix it the last time they said?
Mm-hmm.
So, sounds good.
That's all we got?
Wow. All right.
Pretty good one, thanks.
Yeah, you guys have a great day.
Thanks, Eric, you too.
Oh, someone's walked out the door.
We got 2 minutes, Gary.
I think are we on time still?
I don't think so.
We were on time till Fletcher started asking questions.
Thank you for checking that out with Minnehaha County.
Oh, not a problem.
Triage
Yeah.
deal.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It's not a cheap deal, but if you get good cooperation between city, hospitals, county, hopefully it'll work out well for them.
We do have August 2nd at 8, we have a special meeting also.
Friday morning, 8
Friday
o'clock,
morning,
I'll be here.
8 o'clock, I'll be here then.
I think Mike said he would be here. Pretty sure Mike said he'd be
All
here
the way?
for that meeting, yeah.
That'll be a quick one.
Yeah.
I guess we can move on to our next item, we're about a half a minute away. Next item, Mark Milbrand, Sheriff, 2020 budget.
Morning, Sheriff.
How are you?
Morning,
Morning.
Dan.
Morning.
So you know, we are having our corn feed
Okay.
in about 2 weeks. Give you a little history on it. It started in 1980. This will be my 39th year. You remember John Ruckman?
Oh, absolutely.
Elroy was sheriff, and he said, Mark, you want to have a corn feed? I said, yeah, sounds good. He said, well, take the patrol car, we'll go down to St. Thomas. I can't do that, I gotta ask the sheriff. And he had the cars back then, if you remember. And the sheriff said, sure, go ahead. So we went down there and picked up our first trunk full of corn, brought it back and fed our office, and now this will be our 39th year we're doing it. So,
Excellent.
that looks like it's come along pretty good too.
Good.
In a
Sweet
couple
corn
of-
and hot dogs.
Yep. Nothing better. Anyway, I was gonna have Henry here, but he was tied up, and that's the 24/7 program. That's pretty much the same as it was last year. Do you have any questions on it? And then Brian Barr was gonna come over, but he's got his Windows 10 training this morning. So JDC is actually a little less. If you wanna look at it, it's, this, last year was $1,027,000, this year it's $976,000. It's actually about 53,000 less.
Is that what JDC you said?
That's JDC, yeah. And then home detention, the 24, I think is up, that's just due to wages, that's up, from 107 to 109, but that, the wages went up from 98 to 101, so that kind of explains that there. If you have any questions on those, we'll try to answer, but there's really not a whole lot there. If not, I can move on to jail. That's kind of an extended one. Unfortunately, Keith was sick this morning, and Brian had to take an inmate over to the hospital, so, or Nate Smith. They were going to come over, but neither of them could make it. So. Do you have the explanation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And of course, we have a large increase in the budget due to overcrowding of inmates and fees and services associated with that. You know, we hold them up over in Fall County. At one time, I think we had a total of 101, if I remember right, which is a lot more than we normally hold. Line item 2, professional fees. Same reason they've been raised due to housing inmates in other facilities. We have spent over budget this year and did not see that being changed in the coming year. And then the hospital increased because of medical needs and services for inmates. And groceries, of course, more people, you gotta feed more, so we increased that. Postage increase, we used to do the EAs, but now they're all court ordered to the jail. So our investigators used to do it, but there have to be so many now that we just run it through the jail. Because there are inmates in there instead of the investigator coming in, the jail staff can do it themselves. For all UAs that's getting tested, you know, if you're on probation or even violation of a bond order or something like that. Or the court's order. Right? So, we thought that was a simpler way. And then travel and conference, we increased, we're gonna send correctional officers to, they're having a jail school, which doesn't happen very often in Sioux Falls. And we really want them to be trained. And basically that's not a whole lot you can do with the jail, you know, if we you know, unfortunately the crime rate has seemed to have gone up, and we're having a lot more arrests than we usually do. And we have no other choice but to house in some other place, and of course Fall County is the closest one for us.
Professional service and fees up quite substantial. What is that going to involve if it raises that much? 6,000 to 100,000.
Let's look at it.
Yeah, I was
Housing inmates in other counties, if you look
Yeah.
on line
Yeah.
4.2.
It's under,
The next page is,
422, because we've already, I think, I don't know, maybe Kathy can help me on that, I can't. I think it's probably spent around 50, I think. I didn't have that, Keith had that, and he's unfortunately sick today, but I can sure get it for you and send it over.
No, I see it on the report that we get on our phone every day, that how many are housed in Falcon.
So,
I would think that your client transport, is that actually transporting inmates to Fulton?
No.
The line item 427.04.
what that's for is the Minnehaha County Sheriff, Brown County Sheriff, and the Pennington County Sheriff, which would be Brown at the time. Sheriffs have changed there, but we set up a program, and we used to transport prisoners 4 times a week with that van. Do you remember that? And what happened was Redfield closed, so now we only do it 2 times a week. But anybody that we have, we also have income from it, and I can get that for you to show because we transport for other counties. We simply go, they bring it to Aberdeen, we go from Aberdeen to Mitchell, and then Pennington bus comes down from Rapid to Mitchell, and then Yankton comes up, and Sioux Falls comes up, so we don't have to go all the way down to Yankton sometimes. Works quite well. They got pretty much acclimated, but lately, I think the 1st of July, out of 10 days, we had 9 transports, wasn't it? And those were going to Sioux Falls and Yankton, but they're court orders, and there's not a whole lot.
But that comes out of this $5,000, huh? Is that where that, or is that out of professional? I guess that was my question, whether that transport, does that come out of professional fees, or is it coming out of client transport?
I believe it's client transport.
Okay.
That's set, that is just simply set for us, for the bus that we have now that, like I said, we travel down. But the ones we pay for are the ones that all of a sudden we get a court order Thursday in the middle of the day to take somebody to Yankton, and then that's our bill, and we take that out of ours. So we try to separate them because we were, and still do have some income coming with the prisoner transport, all of us, and then Pennington County oversees it and they do all the billing for us. Yeah. That having a jail,
Yeah, it's too bad some of that money couldn't be spent to try to keep the meth and some of that out of the jail too. Spent
well,
someplace,
that's what's getting to be a problem. is-
spent someplace else rather than having them all over in the jail. But how do you do that?
I got some ideas. It'll be a different session for that, though.
Yeah.
It'll take a few hours.
They might have to be closed. No. No, I think Chris has got one.
No, there's a lot of different options, but
Something's gotta be done.
Oh, yeah.
Keep them out of the, running every one of them through the jail.
I mean, you know, when it's an interesting progression because the standard jail sentence on felonies when I started was like 90 to 75 days. We knocked it down to 60, and we took it down to 45. Now we took it down to 30, and it's just, I mean, the judges, and I believe they're correct, you shouldn't go below 30 with a felony. But I mean, it was at 90 when I started. We've cut it all the way down to 30 just to help. I mean, if it was still at 90, you'd have to build it.
We'd have 150.
We've done a lot of different things to try to fix the problem, and it's helped a little bit, but it's just pushing some of the problems off a few more years. But
And the thing too, getting PR bonds too has gone up quite a bit from normal, I think.
yeah, and then maybe it has changed a little bit more now that we got a new magistrate judge.
Is that triage program, is that keeping in Sioux Falls and Minnehaha County? Are you familiar with that triage program that they've got in Minnehaha County? Try to keep some of the meth and opioid problems out of the jail and try to get them help before they ever get there. And I just wondered what kind of expense, you know, even if the expense is, I guess, even higher, just to try to alleviate some of the problems somehow.
And there are programs that they do use, you know, especially if they get arrested the first time and then they have to go get some counseling or whatever, and we try to do what we can, but that's mainly up to the courts.
You know, and then we started the GPS ankle monitors for a little while, but then what that ended up doing is, yeah, a couple more people can get out, but it takes a full-time...
People to run.
Yeah, the manpower was, you know, one full-time person just to keep track of who's all out, whether they're following the rules. You try different things, and I don't know if we're using any GPSs at this point, maybe one or two. But
Under your sheriff's budget, your group health and your dental's way down. Are you anticipating, our rates went up, effective in July 1st.
For the sheriff, you said?
Yeah, the
Which
sheriff's
one?
department, under the group insurance and the general insurance. It's down, but yet our rates went up for the year.
I don't know, did you give us those figures?
Just the figures per employee.
Sandy usually handles that, so I'm sure she must have figured it out, but I can look at that and see.
Normally, everybody's up a little bit because of our increase, and I see it was down. I thought, unless you're gonna have less staff.
Or
But
the
if you're having
employees
more-
elected less coverage, and if staff chose less health insurance.
Yeah, that could be, I'll have to find out, but I sure can.
These could be the numbers before we made the decision to add those employees that chose not to or failed to choose.
I think
mean,
that's the way
just need
Sandy
to
figured
adjust
it
that.
out. And then, court security.
I know Commissioner Kipley had some questions about that and was wondering what, if any, options we may have to save a part of $250,000 a year on making some changes, but
It's, I mean, you see when Deputy Terry Evans came in on what goes through there, and I think it's working quite well. We do try to have on the busy times, but we do back off and have two on at sometimes, and then in the morning, we'll have a jailer come over for an hour, correction officer, instead of having somebody come in, we'll have somebody come in later, so they're already getting paid anyway.
sure.
So, and you work on that a lot more than I have lately.
Yeah, we really try to cut the amount of people by, when we can do just 2 there, we do 2 every time we can. It's just vacations and sick leaves, you gotta have somebody available to come in. So there's gonna be some times when there's 3, but we really cut that as much as we could.
And there's sometimes have been, if they look in the courthouse, and there's no court, we've had one person, and then we have the deputies on call in case if they need somebody, they can go over there, or a correctional officer can go over there, so it's cut back the best that we can as far, and then, the big expense is looking at that magnetometer. We've had that for 20 years, and they'll go through it sometimes, take the wand will hit it, it's brand new, you'll find one, but it's whatever you guys feel.
And that's the $5,000 machinery and equipment, that's,
Yeah.
that was our budget? Okay. I assume that was, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a huge expense for a piece of equipment like that.
No.
So when there's no court, do we just have one on staff over there at all times? Is that something that we could look at doing? I mean, if there's no court, can we just get by with one?
Well, some of the problem is they're still full-time employees. We got to be able to get them to work, and to get their hours in. I have been utilizing them on transports to Yankton and to Sioux Falls as much as possible, to utilize them and keep the people on the road that needs to be on the road, but yet get somebody transported as much as I can. And we're working on getting a phone line down there so we can start, when they are slower, to start working our civil papers, making the phone calls. We're trying to double duty them also to help us get some of these other things done, and get the biggest bang for the buck we can out of all of them. And they've been really willing to do that. We just got to get that phone line in, which will help a lot.
The other thing about if there's court that's difficult is, like, as I'm sitting here, I've got 2 court notices that got added to the calendar today. So it's just so hard for them to plan ahead. And then I actually had 1 hearing taken off, all while I've been sitting here. So it's so hard to tell, because, somebody gets arrested on probation that night, they have to go in front of a judge, or somebody got arrested this morning on probation, they got to get in front of a judge. It's hard for you to plan ahead with that.
And the other part is probation. There's a big pile of people coming in and out of probation every single day. That's a big part of our clientele are going over to probation. So we really can't leave them hanging without some security also.
I know our population is a lot less than Pennington County or Minnehaha County, but I wonder how we compare as far as cost for security with other, well, I guess you compare us to Cottington County or Beale County maybe. I wonder what they're doing in their courthouses as far as security. and how they're handling it.
I think we looked into that
Yeah,
prior
we looked
prior
into
to, we have those numbers somewhere.
Yeah,
what
I
they were
can
doing.
probably look for that
I
memo
mean, Brookings,
again.
I was there for court a couple months ago, they don't have security at the doors, but they have somebody that's in the courtroom, with the armed deputy in the courtroom when you're having court.
Do they have probation in their ground?
Not sure. But they're obviously a completely different setup. I mean, they have 5
Yeah, well,
entrances.
and that's the other thing, I mean, what is the setup comparison too? I mean, that's, you know, that's a major issue, no question, how you enter and where you're going.
You know, and I think it was Judge Porter who said, well, we'd rather have an armed deputy in the courtroom. That'd be great if you guys want to do that, but I think he ran the numbers and it wasn't practical.
It's very difficult,
Because then you gotta have it be a deputy and the whole, and then you might have 3 courts going in 3 different courtrooms at a time.
yeah.
Never gets easier, does it?
Or cheaper.
In the sheriff's office, we kind of went through that, but we haven't had much of an increase. We're looking at getting a forensic program. You can explain that and do that.
Yeah, it's partially computer forensics, but mostly what we do is with cell phones. So the program is to help us do our job and to be able to do it more efficiently. The police department does have one. They used to have up to 3 at one time. Now I think they have 2 now, don't they now? But their caseload is so heavy, so it can be 3 months before you get to a phone in some cases. So this program is fairly cost effective. It fits all the bills that we're looking for the smallest amount of money, and to get someone trained up so we can do our investigations a lot quicker.
So it's about a $5,000 cost for the forensic program?
Correct.
And computer, okay.
The biggest cost is actually the computer.
Sure.
If it wasn't for the computer, the program's only a couple $1,000, and each year is a small fee. I think it's $500 a year, which in this world is pretty small
Right.
anymore.
Yep.
But the computer itself, which is a one-time purchase, but it still needs a little more power than the average fare.
You've got 112,000 for vehicles, and I know the question came up, can we get any extra time or years out of our vehicles, or are you kind of pushing the limit the way it is?
We've been seeing quite a bit of, we've got 3 vehicles this year, which is what we're trying to replace for next year, and the cost for repairs are getting pretty heavy already, and they're only in their 90s right now. By the time we trade them off or try to move them around, is in the neighborhood of 110 to 120 already. You go another year, you're looking at another 30,000 on there and a bunch more cost. This next year, doing some research, we're going to try to switch over to some Tahoes. Some of the research shows that some of them can go a little bit longer, plus we get some more value later on throughout the county and throughout our own office, so that we can get some more life out of them some other way. And that's another reason for these 3 is we got some up close to 200,000 miles on them, and we want to get those off the books and start putting some of these that are lower 100,000s in those positions, use them for another 3-4 years, I hope, and to get more life out of them.
So you replace the interceptors with Tahoes? Is that kind of your goal?
That is the goal right now, yes.
I think they got better gas mileage and things. Them PDs have it for a while, and they seem to work better for them than these. And
Correct.
Okay. Because the interceptors were kind of the cat's meow when they came out a few years ago.
They still are. Unfortunately, costs are increasing with them. This year they just changed the model and changed some of the stuff that are in. We can't switch them over to the new ones anymore, so they've made our life a little more difficult and costly.
yeah, we thought that the cages and all that would fit, and then all of a sudden they came out, and now they don't, so now we gotta look at different cages for it.
Yeah.
And we can't go without cages all the time. It makes sense. you know.
We've been very fortunate. The Tahoe's even really changed some of the design. They're fairly close on the interior, so we can use more of the stuff longer.
Good.
And then just on a lighter note, before we get to communications, and so far, money that's brought in by the sheriff's office at the end of June is $136,518. For the first half of the year, the jail's been $62,000 for holding inmates. JDC has been about $35,000, so we got a total of about almost $244,000 for the first half of the year, part of it. And then, I got Aaron here for communications. I don't know, Doug, did you want to go through it, or you want to wait until after our next council meeting, because things are kind of up in the air, or would you like it explained here, or?
What do we have?
51.
I think we should probably hear a little bit today, because we'll be getting close to our publication deadline for the provisional budget.
I guess we had our communication meeting.
I wasn't there, I had another appointment, so I couldn't be there, but Aaron, why don't you come up here? And you can
Basically, give you a kind of
you were there too.
a snapshot of what was discussed. We had the request for 4 full-time employees to go with communications. And I guess the other item that came up for discussion, that was the new software for $115,000. The question came about with the city concerned about meeting the requirement of their increase in the budget, I guess, to put it on the side of not blaming the city, but they were concerned with the amount of increase in that. So their request was that they increase 1 full-time employee, and the software was in question also, I guess, and I don't know where that lies. I mean, it's kind of like we're having a special meeting August 6th to kind of firm the budget up between their thoughts and our thoughts. And I guess the other side of that is, who actually determines this budget? Is it the commission, or is it the council together, or is it a joint operation? I guess that's unclear at this point. Maybe you could guide us a little on that, Chris, I guess.
Off the top of my head, I always thought that the Communications Council recommends to the 2 governing bodies, and the Communications Council is made up of 2 city members, 2 county members.
And
I think it
one
says
school
they're in
board.
charge of the budget, basically. That's the
Yeah,
contract.
that's kind of my understanding
I'd have
on
to
it,
look
is
at
that
it.
they make a recommendation, and then the final word is here, because we're county employees, so.
So we have the final say on
I
what's
believe
approved.
so.
I'd have to look at that agreement. I know that had come up, because then the question was, what if the county and the city split decision?
We have a 5-member board now. We have
Yep.
Brian Sharp is also on our...
And that's why we fixed that problem?
Right.
That's why we fixed that problem. So I think it is maybe approved by the council. Let me look at that contract.
Okay?
But some of the things we wanted to get is the staffing. Why don't you explain the pro Q&A that he's talking about?
The software that they were talking about is, right now we have a medical software in place. It's been in place for several years, that guides us through scripted call taking. So when someone calls down, has a medical issue, we can walk them through kind of an advanced first aid until first responders can get there. They also offer a fire and a law side to it. The fire side kind of guides us to help people until help can arrive. Law side, same thing. The biggest thing that we wanted to offer was scripted call taking for active shooters. It will take you through, okay, do you have an escape route? Are you able to get away from the shooter? Or if you're not, can you barricade yourself? It takes the guesswork out of the dispatch portion of it. So we're not kind of, I don't really want to say winging it, but kind of. I mean, we don't deal with those kind of issues often enough to be comfortable with it. One of Kent's big things is he wanted to make sure we have a fairly young staff, as far as numbers of years served, to kind of bring them to a higher level so that when we do have an incident, we have something to fall back on. And legality-wise, it's actually backed. They have their own lawyers if someone were to sue the county because of negligence on our part. As long as we follow the protocol, their lawyers will back us on it. Those are the big things that he wanted for us. That scripted call taking, the cost The quote that they gave us was $99,693. We did add an increase to cover any unexpected expenses in case something were to pop up, but that's for the law and the fire side of it. We already have the EMS in place. There is an ongoing cost for upkeep of the software that we're already paying for medical. Obviously, the more we add on, the better deal we get every year, but it's about $4,000 to $5,000 a year for each of those disciplines.
Doesn't it too, I mean, if you got a medical call, then all of a sudden it pops in where the fire.
Yep, and
or
they
that
move
all
between
drops
each
down
other.
for you, so you don't have to start, what do I do now? You
Yeah.
know, it's really, it goes really smooth, and you can just listen to some of them with what we have now, where they ask the questions, or I can show you on the Q&A on my phone, because it'll show once the call's there, it'll go, ask this question, is she breathing, are they conscious, does this happen to that, you know, it's all
And then-
scripted for
And
you.
it gives
and
the
most-
responders.
I'd say 90% of the communication centers use it, especially the big ones,
Yeah,
because of so many
EMS.
calls there to get.
Yeah, the EMS for sure, it's actually state mandated that we have a scripted call taking for medical at bare minimum. This is just an addition to that, where we could kind of provide that service for the other disciplines, and like Mark said too, if we have say a law call that's evolving, I can get a description out to somebody, it all goes in the CAD system, so they can either see it, or my dispatching partner can tell them what this person looks like on the fly, and it's in the same order, they expect it at the same time, so it's more, it's easier to understand for our first responders.
If I remember right, if you buy them both at the same time, the training comes at the same time, so there's a one-cost training for them, versus if you buy it 2 separate times, they'll have to come twice, which they charge you twice for coming and for training, so you have to factor that into your guys' decision too.
Well, and being in the meeting, I think there'll probably be some heavily discussion about 4 full-time employees. I don't think the city feels that they're willing to go that route. My suggestion is 2, and they wanted 1, and that's kind of where I was at, you know, and I guess, you know, I realize we're on a tight budget, and I suspect they are also, like all counties and cities are. You know, sales tax revenue's down throughout the state also, but I guess that's kind of my thought, is I'd like to see at least 2 full-time coming over to your, you know, that gives you a little bit of flexibility. I mean, it probably doesn't fix the whole problem, but I mean, at least it's something. I don't know that 1 is going to do a lot for you. I do understand you have some coming off of training here now this fall, which will help somewhat. They'll have the experience, but now if you bring 2 new ones on, they've got, what, 3 to 5 months to get to where they need to be before they become...
Yeah, and it takes, you know, it depends on the person, it really does, but it takes a couple of years before a dispatcher is fully comfortable in what they're doing. That's just kind of an average across the nation, so.
If they ever get comfort.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, you know, some people don't make it the year, they get close to that year mark, it seems like, and it's like, this isn't gonna work for me, or it's, you know, it's a very stressful position, you know, so.
We just want to make sure we serve the public, and I know it's happened where we've only had 2 on, and 1 had to use the bathroom, and 2 911 calls come in, and they can't answer. I mean, it's like, how would you like that if somebody showed you're calling and nobody answers the phone? And it's just something we have to look at, that make sure we're manned well enough.
And it's, you know, as we sit right now, everything is fine until there's a vacation or sick leave, and that's the big thing. If someone is out, I'm instantly scrambling.
Yeah, we used to go with 3
Yeah.
on a shift, so that pretty well covers it. But now it just, a lot of other things go on when people are gone. Training, continue with education.
But that's kind of what I took out of the meeting we had. I mean, it's one of those deals where you've got 2 entities that got to get together somewhere in the middle, so
Well, we appreciate your support too, and you know, if it can't come all at one time, we understand that. It's just, the need's there, and times are changing with the calls and quantity that we get, and we just try to keep up with the times.
Doug, to answer your question now that I think back about it, the communications council decides on the budget. That's why we added the fifth person, because we didn't know what would happen if there was a split. It's a contract that we entered into with the city and the county, so the communications council makes that decision. So you, Rachel, for the county, who is the fifth person?
Brian Sharp.
From the school board?
Yeah. And now Dave Brunsness and Mayor Shoneman. Will be the five that are on that.
So they decide the budget and tell us what we will spend?
Yep, the city and the county have representation on the council.
So it kind of puts that fifth member in a real big spot.
Well, that's why we're going back and forth on what position that'll come from.
I was thinking we were gonna take them out for lunch today.
Yeah.
He seems like that.
Well, you could tell me that you're gonna watch them closely, but the police department could tell we were gonna watch them even closer, so that wouldn't work either. Well, I guess that'll be up to us. On August 6th, we will have our meeting, and that'll probably be when the budget will be decided, but, you know, that's kind of what's been discussed, you know, and it's a difficult one for us as a board to decide, because you've got an outside entity kind of controlling this thing, so.
Well, we appreciate the support, and whatever happens, we'll deal with it, you know. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Too bad we can't get some help from the municipalities all across the state, and that's something that, there was a bill probably back 5-6 years ago and I can't get into any details on it at all. I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but it involved getting municipalities involved as far as helping with the jail and the sheriff's office, because the county's saddled with everything. I mean, and a good share, I mean, you take like in Minnehaha County, Pennington County, Brown County, I mean, a lot of the clientele that's coming into the sheriff's office is coming right out of the municipality. It's not coming off the farmland or out of the agriculture areas, and so that's something you guys can work on. Get us some help from sales tax to take care of these issues in the jail and the sheriff's office and communications. Well, communications, we're getting help from the city on communications.
You know who brought that bill?
You know, I don't remember. It seemed to me like it might have come out of, I'm pretty sure it came out of Minnehaha County, just about positive. They came, but I don't know what, you know, if it was a House bill and I think it actually might have been in a bill form, but I don't know if it would have been, I think probably in the House, but I'm not sure of that either.
Was it when you were still there?
Yeah, the last year that I was there. So, good luck.
Yeah, you can't get the state to help the counties when the counties are getting everything pushed back down on them, so I suppose you're not getting the cities either.
But you gotta make them aware of it. I mean, it's gotta be, you know, somehow the attention has to be brought to the whole picture, not just load it down on property tax all the time. That's the part that's so aggravating to me. I mean, you load the prosecution and the defense and the housing of the inmates and everything onto property tax, and funding education, you load, well, they put a half penny on sales tax, but still, I mean, it's too big of a burden for property tax, plain and simple.
Well, you think about the jail population, and I think historically, the people that have the longest stays are the pre-trial people waiting for trial. And those people are held because they're in danger of flight risk. The interesting thing, you know, and I always talk about how the state's just pushing all these costs back onto the county. One that no one ever thinks about for the jail is our judges' calendars. How quick can we get on their calendar? Because if these are pre-trial folks sitting, can't get on their calendar for 9 months, then the person's going to sit for 9 months. And if you look at the statistics around the state, our judge numbers should be a little bit higher compared to the other counties, because I think we're down a half a judge compared to the others for the most part. But our judges' calendars are slammed. But when they go, you know, to the Chief Justice or whoever, the powers that be that can help with that, they get told they're not getting another
Yeah,
That makes our jail numbers just
Right.
creep it up.
And that's been an issue in Pier for a number of years too, is the time it takes that they actually are held in the jail before they actually get through the court system. It's just crazy.
This is our primary reason for coming today, is we like to hear what's actually happening out in the counties. There's a lot of times where you try to legislate without knowing what's really going on, and I think that happens throughout the state. And, you know, when Drew and I take the time to do this, it really helps us because, you know, with the jail costs, with all the different things that you talk about, unless somebody tells you those things, you really don't know. And so when a bill comes up, you're not voting 100% informed of where we've got a lot better chance this way. You know, like juvenile justice, working with that program, you know, if we didn't have the relationship that we have with Chris and with you guys, we wouldn't know what we know. But we appreciate all that you give us, and we're going to bug out, not because we want to leave you, but we have a 10 o'clock constituent meeting, and we also have 11 o'clock constituent meeting, and these have been lined up for like 4 weeks. So we're going to leave you, but if you have anything at all that we can help you with, just let us know.
Well, you kind of get an idea to see, we talk about prisoner transport. If the police department, the highway patrol, whoever agency goes in and does a QMHP, and they say they need to be transported, then the court orders the sheriff. Under statute, that the sheriff has to transport them. So, like I said, 10 days, and I think it was 9 days that we had transport. So I think I sent that over to you about the interest fund and stuff, but those are things that...
Ends up being a
it's
property
being
tax expense.
Yeah, it's
Ends up being a property tax expense. And we all pay that. And there ain't enough for the county left after the...
I guess we'll let Drew and Carl fix that problem for us. How's that?
Well, Drew has 2 more years' experience than I do. He was the youngest state legislator ever in the history of South Dakota. The one that was youngest before him was David Nostrom. And so he's had 3 years of experience so far, so this is the year he'll fix everything.
Good. All right.
Carl does have a lot more experience than I do, though.
Well, we do appreciate you coming to the meetings. I mean, it's nice to have representation from someplace outside the county that maybe can help us out in some of these issues that we face.
I can tell you that a lot of legislators, because I was there, don't fully understand the responsibilities of the counties and all the things that are piled on them and what statutorily we're required to provide. And on the flip side of that, how restricted our ability to raise revenue is. They don't understand the property tax freeze that goes back long before a lot of them were there, and the restrictions that are put on our ability to increase our revenue. We're severely handicapped in raising any additional needed revenue to keep up with the cost of living and all those things. So
That's why it helps if you're a county commissioner before you become a legislator.
Yep.
But it's very frustrating, I'll tell you. Unbelievable. Matter of fact, I think probably the first 4 years that I was down there were 10 of the 105 legislators, 10 of them were past county commissioners. Didn't seem to make any difference. I mean, when it come to really helping counties,
they forgot where they came from.
it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it just...
So it's because the state office have all the lobbyists, and they
Yeah.
have all the employees that are working full-time to lobby against the county.
They do.
It's exactly what's happened on every bill I've ever been to peer for.
Yeah, they
People
do.
ask me, is this going to get passed? I said, I don't know. It depends if the state offices want it to pass, because they're the ones that control everything.
Excellent point.
They can influence
Absolutely.
the outcome of almost
Very
every
good
bill.
observation. Exactly what happens.
There are a lot of blue badge lobbyists, that's for sure.
I know the first year I was out there, oh, did that aggravate me? Something terrible. But
The last week, we had the senior advisor for the governor here in town, and we visited and we talked about juvenile justice and how Mike Leinhold and the Department of Correction is starting to really move forward with that, and how Chris White has worked really hard on that. And she said her thought was, she said she sits from here to a mark away from the governor's office. So she's that close to the governor. She's worked with her for 10 years, and she wrote down 5 things. One of them was juvenile justice. So, you know, we got her attention on that. We got her attention on vaping. We got her attention on a few different things. And the good news is we have, between Drew and myself and Al, we actually have aligned to some people that can make a difference. So, but we, you know, if we don't know what you need, we can't fix it because we just don't know about it. So that's why we come here, is because we want to know more. We don't want to just do a job. We want to do a job that really represents you guys correctly. So
We need the ability to generate much needed additional revenue.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from Aaron or Dave? Okay.
Do you guys need anything from us?
No, I guess it'll depend on our August 6th meeting, how communications.
Oh, really?
evolve.
Yeah. They come back with their, well, it's more than a recommendation, it's their decision, so.
But I think in all of that, still, the bottom line is the county commissioners still approve the budgets, irregardless.
Thanks again.
I
Thanks,
mean,
Dave.
they can set whatever they want, but if the money isn't there,
Yeah, because the money's coming from our general
the
fund.
money is coming from the general fund, so the bottom line is, even as much as they do say these are the numbers that we have to operate, if literally the county doesn't have the money, when we vote to approve the budget, we've got to take all of that into consideration
Well, just
too.
like anything.
Yeah.
If you don't have the money to pay my budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's the way it is.
That takes care of the agenda items. Anything else, Kathy, come up? Gary?
No, please go.
Anything else come before the commission? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Piker to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.